Hey guys, welcome to the Manchester United News channel. Subscribe to the channel to not miss any news, leave your like, and share. You are very important for the growth of the channel. Let's go to the video.
Let's start with Manchester United, who suffered that humiliating 3-0 defeat by Bournemouth at home. Erik Ten Hag's side have now lost 7 league games this season. They were booed off, and it's the first time that Bournemouth have ever won at Old Trafford, and it came just 24 hours after the United boss was named manager of the month. I'm sure he doesn't feel like that right now. Miguel, arguably a really good performance from them midweek against Chelsea, wasn't it? And then this. Can you understand the disparity that's going on with Manchester United at the moment?
Not really,
okay,
to be honest.
That's that then.
Well, I do think that, now, one of my first thoughts actually was, what does that say about Chelsea? But I do think maybe the performance in midweek kind of came from, well, maybe tactically the game suited them a bit, but also given everything that happened in the build-up, and it felt like it was maybe easy for the manager to lean on a bit of a siege mentality, and for the players, and there are still a lot of players loyal to Ten Hag and do like him, kind of played for him, but that only temporarily covered bigger issues. And I think one of the most striking things for me about yesterday's game, beyond the very fact that Bournemouth have won 3-0 at Old Trafford, could have been 4-0, a sentence in itself that's remarkable. I mean, if you look at it, Bournemouth, Andoni Iraola, he's there a few months, had a difficult start, and yet now with a much weaker squad, much fewer resources, he's playing an identifiable style of football to the point that they can go to Old Trafford and do that. Now, of course, the job at Manchester United is bigger. It's like to impose a kind of an idea of football, it has to go to a higher level with Ten Hag. But to be cut open in that way, I think is incredible. I think that's a real indictment of Ten Hag, that Iraola can do that quickly. And with United, a year and a half in, I mean, the talk around the club is what style of play does he want?
So is it, because I asked Diogo Dalla that when I sat down with him, and he said, no, we know what he wants. So is it he's not getting what he wants from his players? Are the players not doing it? Or does he not have the style that he knows what he wants?
But I mean, I'd be curious as to kind of what the players say in terms of the detail they go into. Because I suppose, I mean, one of the reasons that Ten Hag basically has the job is because what Ajax did in the Champions League in 2019. And that would have been close to that kind of classic, I suppose, the style of football that's dominated the game for the last 15 years, the Guardiola, Dutch, Catalan, Spanish approach. But they don't play anything close to that. And okay, he has gone on at times that it's that with kind of more intensity and pace. And there was maybe a glimpse of that, say, in the build-up to the League Cup final, the win over Barcelona. There was a hint of it on Wednesday night against Chelsea. But other than that, it's been nothing close to it. And it seems like at the moment, it feels like it's back round to the sort of football that I suppose ended up characterising a lot of Solskjaer's time, ended up doing for Mourinho, which is just these collective displays where the opposition are dominant and United are reliant on individual pieces of inspiration to rescue games. And that kind of keeps them in this cycle where they get a bad result, they'll respond, Bruno Fernandez will get a goal or something, and suddenly it looks okay again, and then we're back round again.
It's interesting you use those words collective and then individual. It's something we were talking about, wasn't it, last week? That it seems to be individual performances. They only had 3 shots on target yesterday at home against Bournemouth, and it doesn't get any easier for Erik Ten Hag's side looking forward as well.
No, it doesn't. I've been looking at their fixtures coming up on Wednesday night, on Tuesday night I should say. They play Bayern Munich. Now Bayern are off the back of a 5-1 defeat to Frankfurt in their domestic league. That was away from home, but it's inconceivable in my opinion that they will produce such a poor performance against United. I think they will turn up and ruthlessly expose the fractures in that United side and in their collective attitude. United then go to Liverpool, whose record at Anfield is outstanding, as we all know. They then go to West Ham, who have their tails up, and they're on a better run of form under David Moyes, and they too have the firepower to get in behind a Manchester United side that always give you chances when you play against them. And then they're at home to Aston Villa. Now, it has to be said, Villa's away form, it isn't as strong as their home form, but again, they are everything that United are not. They're willing to work hard. They've got creativity in midfield. There's a cohesion about the side, and all of them, to a man, buy into what Unai Emery is trying to do. As far as Ten Hag is concerned, he doesn't have that collective appetite from his players.
Yeah, and the bad news is they're going to miss Bruno Fernandez, their captain, who's come under so much scrutiny as well, but he's picked up another yellow. So he's got a suspension against Liverpool next week. You'd think he'd know. I mean, it's patronising to say, but you'd think as a captain, you've got to perform better than that, haven't you?
I must say, I have felt a slight sympathy for Fernandez in terms of the captain debate because, I mean, that alone is, I suppose, a product of what the United squad has become. And in a different era, he probably wouldn't be captain. But in a squad like this, where the personality has been questioned, he's one of those with more personality. Unfortunately, I suppose that personality leads to spiky moments and moments like that, which keeps him out of a huge game. Which is, I mean, picking up on that, and I suppose what we've been discussing for the last few minutes. With Liverpool next Sunday, I do wonder as well how much, and maybe it's something we've only seen in hindsight a bit, but how much the 7-0 last season actually deeply affected the squad. Because if you think about it, it was just on the back of the League Cup win. Everything was kind of nicely, steadily building. And okay, they were beginning to get injuries and that was beginning to affect the squad. But just in terms of what that might have done to the belief in the whole project. Because, I mean, it genuinely hasn't really been the same since.
Yeah, you make a good point. What are the papers saying, Darren?
Well, normally I just give you one or two, but I'm going to take you through 3 or 4 actually, because there are quite a few and all of them make good points. Now, I'm going to start with the Sunday Mirror. I've said many times on the show, as you know, we're not a show that calls for managers to be sacked. That's just not what we do. But we do the issues, and so do the papers today. And the papers do say, take a look at this. Cheerio, Eric, and look at the subdeck underneath the Sunday Mirror's back page. Big questions after what they describe as a shambolic United, humiliated by Bournemouth. They question the damaging nature of yesterday's defeat. The Telegraph, James Ducker's piece, the fans booed them off yesterday. And the headline on the Sunday Telegraph piece is self-explanatory. Fans turn on spineless United. They give us the details in this piece. The abysmal result, the reaction of the fans. Look at that subdeck boos ring out at Old Trafford after shocking home defeat by Bournemouth. We know what happened when the fans turned against Paul Heckingbottom last week, and Sheffield United responded by making that particular change. And this piece also talks about the implications for Ten Hag. The Sun back page, read and buried. They give us a reaction of Ten Hag. Martin Blackburn's quotes him as saying that they are not good enough. Look again at the subdeck there, to be consistent and live with the big dogs in the Premier League. And I'm going to finish off with the Mail, Chris Wheeler's piece. It's a package really, and he wonders what the incoming Sir Jim Ratcliffe and his Ineos advisors must be making of what they describe as, quote, an utterly shambolic performance. Just keep your eyes on this actually, because the Mail's package contains some stats in the middle, and on the right hand side, look at that, their columnist Danny Murphy, hard hitting piece from him, says that recent wins and awards for Ten Hag and United, they've masked very clear problems. And although he says Ten Hag is a likeable guy, we respect him of course, he's worried that United may now have to plan for the future without him. He doesn't think that there is enough by way of consequences at United for poor performance.
Just interesting to see all the papers focusing on the fact that United are having a torrid time of it and not really focusing in potentially on what a great time Bournemouth are having as well. You know, can't take it away from them. They had a great game. Jamie Redknapp compared United to a soap opera. He said they've become like Coronation Street. I don't watch Corrie at all, so do you agree at all? Is it like that?
I'm not Corrie watcher these days, I'm saying that.
For the youngsters, it's a little bit like Neighbours.
Right, okay, similar. But in terms of just going back to Bournemouth, I mean, they did have a great day yesterday, didn't they? You can't take it.
And probably deserve credit because, I mean, it's 2 months ago since people were talking about, like, there was genuine discussion about Iraola is going to be one of the most hapless managerial regimes in the Premier League. And it felt a little bit like, I suppose, maybe, not to say he's going to be a Pochettino or anything like that, but a little bit like Atkins and Pochettino a decade ago at Southampton, where kind of a manager that had done well had been replaced what seemed a little bit rootlessly, but because they wanted to go in a different direction. And it's been vindicated. I mean, they certainly look a really good side, even beyond going to Old Trafford and winning 3-0.
Yeah, 5 wins from their last 7 games, and it came after, obviously, Gary O'Neill's Wolves beat them, and it made many people question whether or not it was the right decision to make that particular change. But the appetite that they're playing with, the goals for Solanke is better than his entire total of last season so far this season, and just the general appetite that they showed in stark contrast to United yesterday.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it?
Thank you all for watching. Subscribe to the channel to not miss anything, leave your like and your comment, that is very important for the channel growth. Until the next video.
Forever is the strangest.